Hi there, everyone. My name is James, and we are here today with Alaina and doing What Do You Do? And Alaina, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Alaina Atkins. I own a Etsy store online, and I'm a graphic designer.
Awesome. So we'll just jump right in. We'll ask some questions, and we'll go from there. So tell us a little bit about your background as an illustrator and designer, and how did you develop this passion for graphic design?
Well, I started college in 2001, and I decided that I wanted to be a photographer. When I couldn't, at the time, it was before the digital age, so beforehand, I couldn't get a grasp of the chemicals and the dark room, and it was just a little bit
Right.
too. I'm glad for it, but I'm kind of glad I didn't go for it. So I went to my teacher. My teacher recommended that I take some art classes if that was the direction I was going to go with. And I'm not a great. I was not a great drawer or painter or sculptor. But
We're
I
always our
did
worst critic.
absolutely not. And the multimedia department was very, very young in 2001. There was not a whole bunch going on for it. Mostly it was for 2D art and very traditional art.
Mhm.
So I decided that I wanted to do the multimedia side because I knew that that was where it was going to go.
Right.
I started taking alongside the art courses. I also took the multimedia courses, which were not very, very readily available, but I enjoyed them, and so I had to get into the actual program, which I did fail once. I was, like I said, I was not really good at what I
Right.
did at the time, but it made me understand how important it was to learn how to draw, and especially in the computer. So I started learning Photoshop. I started learning Illustrator. I even learned it through 3D programs, which don't even exist today.
Right.
They don't even make this program anymore.
Right.
So I decided that I really wanted to, with design jams through school. They teach you how to get creative. And one of my friends, whom a lot of people don't know, but she sat down with me and started talking to me about time traveling squids. And
As one is wont to do.
when she was eating sushi one day, she was just sitting around holding a squid, and she said, "Time travel. This is how you time travel." And it was a laugh, but I was like, I can make a cartoon out of this.
Right.
So I kind of perfected the squid design as simple as I possibly could in college, and but it didn't go anywhere there.
Okay.
It was just an assignment that I put off to the side later. So when I finally did graduate, happily the skills that stayed with me were Photoshop, Illustrator, design, and you have to stick with that. And when I did start, because I did remember you said that I had started with steampunk.
Right. Yeah.
I had started with Victorian. I
Right.
really, really enjoyed that kind of aspect in the 2000s, and I,
Oh.
I realized I realized that that probably wasn't the direction I should be going, and so I decided to bring him kind of back out. And I discovered that I really enjoyed illustration more, and I got very good at it. You practice, and that it practice makes perfect,
Right.
so that's what you have to do.
Awesome.
So
Very cool. And so you did touch a little bit about the steampunk and Victorian, and how do you incorporate those elements into your product? You don't really do that as much anymore?
I
Or?
don't. When I actually started doing it, and I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of. I was trying to do a little bit more practical and more physical
Okay.
designs with that. It's a little bit difficult. Nowadays, you can go online and buy gears and
Right.
pendants and stuff and get that. But at the time that I was doing it, you couldn't really do it, and it was very expensive.
Right.
So, and I realized that the community, some of the community is very toxic.
Hmm.
And I
Well, in
felt,
the beginning of everything, there's always the
oh,
gatekeepers in
oh.
every genre. At the very beginning, it's all like, no, this is for us only.
It was, and,
So
and,
yeah.
and they did, and I did get in the era of the blog.
Hmm.
I had a blog for it, and it was, I enjoy writing, so I decided to kind of let my creativity out, get myself known in the community. I did not expect that when the community actually let me in, that
Right.
it was not for good reasons. It was to push back.
Hmm.
And so I decided that that was not the kind of environment that I needed to be into, especially creatively.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that I think the more negative comments you get for it, the more it doesn't look as attractive.
Right. Yeah.
So I was kind of like, this isn't for me. When I started not feeling comfortable with it, I walked away.
Right.
But it's important. It's very important to be supportive of the community that you're in.
Right.
So even if it's something that you do not agree with, there's no need to attack somebody based upon the fact, oh, I didn't like how you said that. That's your opinion.
Right. Exactly.
So when it came to that, I had to learn that. I had to learn how to deal with criticism and negativity in that aspect and field. So.
No, I totally understand. And to kind of bounce back a little bit as far as like how things have changed and so much different. Like nowadays you can go to like Michael's or Joann's and you can get cosplay outfits by these, you know, famous cosplay people and all kinds of whatnots, where that wasn't really available for us in the early 2000s and whatnot. And I also remember, I'm dating myself, I remember Photoshop when we could do a black and white photo and just pick one image or one part of the image and make it like a color.
Yes.
To be like, ooh, I'm gonna do a pagoda and it's gonna be red. Everything else is black and white.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I remember that from school, and oh, those were fun days.
Yes.
Good time.
Yes.
So, all right. So we'll move on to a little bit and how do you approach your process of graphic designs and your products? And can you kind of walk us through your creative process and from concept to final? I know we only have so much time, but like kind of briefly, how does that go?
Well, normally, if right now I work on more of like a cultural significance, like it's like cultural reference.
Okay.
I'm a product of the 80s and the 90s, so I have a lot of nostalgia. I loved the movies, the music, the vibe. I love
total resurgence right now.
Oh,
as well.
it's huge. Oh my gosh, it's huge. In a way, I love it. In the other way, seeing kids today embrace it is great, but I'm seeing them be all like, it's our thing. I'm like, yeah, you know what it is. It's totally your thing. So I look at what's not necessarily trending, but I look at stuff that like people might remember, like especially stuff that is obscure, stuff that people really don't think about too much as being popular. Then they look at it and they're like, oh man, I remember that. So, and that's how I go to friends, I go to other people. I'm like, do you remember this? Do you remember how cool this was? Do you remember watching this? Do you remember listening to this? And they're like, yeah, it was so much fun. So, and that's when I start to be like, okay, so maybe I could make a design of that to like Fraggle Rock.
Oh yeah.
You know, like
huge Fraggle Rock.
Yeah, like Muppets in general, just Muppets, and they're having a huge resurgence because there's a lot of new stuff coming out. Disney being is what it is, trying really hard to bank on their nostalgia. So that's what I kind of look for. Is I grab that element and then I'm like, okay, how can I do this differently than the person next to me? How can I make it to where it looks different, but at the same time you know what it is? So you design it and then you sit there and be like, okay, now what is it going to be? Is it going to be a sticker? Is it going to be a pin? Is it going to be a poster? Is it going to be, because that's basically what the delve that I go into is physical.
Right.
I try not to get too complicated now. When you're young, you bite off more than you can chew. And I do really well now because I know that if I stay small, I can go big.
Right.
So, and to be perfectly honest, like once I actually get the design down, I draw it by hand. I scan it. I normally don't go into the computer and draw by hand because I don't. There's something about pen and paper.
Right. Yeah.
There's something about original art that I just love.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I love flipping through it, and I love going by. So I scan it, and then I go into Illustrator, Photoshop, both of them. Illustrator mostly and I have a stylus that I use, and I just draw it out. Then that's the easy part. That's always going to be the easy part is actually doing that because. When you finally get enough designs going through, you got it. Right. And then you have to do the business side of it and put it online and you actually have to make the product first. So you can tell people this is what it looks like, this is how it is, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. Right. Then you can post it online. Right. Then you can see how well it goes. And it's always going to be a gamble. Yeah. Sometimes you'll do really well. Sometimes it just sit there. Yeah. So
absolutely. All right. So so you talked a little bit about this as far as like the Illustrator and whatnot. What are some of the tools and software that you use typically for your graphic design? Or are there any specific skills and techniques that you've developed over time? Like how's that go?
Well, and honestly, the first skill ever is to learn to draw. To sit down with a pen and paper, draw. Any kind of medium that you can do, that's where you should always start. And I always tell that to anybody who comes up to ask. It's like you always have to learn how to start there because they always want to jump to the last step. Right. And you have to start with the simple stuff. If you can get that, you can transfer it or you can try to do it in the computer. Sometimes I get lucky. Sometimes I don't. And then I have a Wacom tablet that I had to learn how to use, because this is not my generation. When this came out, it was the future. It was very, 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 it was difficult to learn how to use. But once you get it, your brain wrapped around it, it's a skill. It's a tool I cannot do without now. I have to draw with it. And it's improved my drawing so much in that respect. And then learning how to be proficient in the program that you're using it in is even more substantial. So I always have to say that my I don't know if I actually have like a style, like, because everybody, when you look at it from close up, you can't see it.
Right. Yeah.
Like you can't, like
you see it every day.
Yeah. So, like not everybody's going to be a Warhol. Not everybody's going to be able to see that kind of difference in your art.
Right.
You just try really hard not to be as close to the person next to you or the designer next to you, because for one, you don't want to take their style away.
Right.
But you are influenced by it, everything you see. But I don't know. I wouldn't actually necessarily say that style specifically. Like I wouldn't. If you saw my stuff, there's only the cartoon aspect of it. Yeah, I have like a style set aside for that. But when it actually comes to a lot of my actual designs, you just you kind of I just kind of take from what I see around.
Whatever genre that you're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Very cool. So, so how do you ensure that your design stands out from the crowd? Because you kind of like chat with don't want to be like your neighbor, and so what are some of the strategies that you do to make your products unique and appealing to your particular target audience?
When I normally want to try to stick with because my audience is like me, they're nostalgic. They want to see, they want to see the Die Hard stickers. They want to see the Labyrinth stickers. They want to see old cartoons from the 80s and 90s. They want to see. There's a lot of great pull toward that genre of music, movies, cartoons. There's a great pull. So what I want to do is take something that not everybody sees all the time. Like everybody's seen, David Bowie in Labyrinth. They've seen David Bowie in his music videos. They've seen it, but have you seen my version of David Bowie? That's the thing. It's like, is there something specific in this movie that you would love to see? Recently I did Indiana Jones because the new movie is coming out soon. So I managed to do a series from the first 3 movies. I haven't gotten to the Crystal Skull yet, but I did. When I got to it, there was one specifically where he's sitting there and it's tapestries, him just yelling tapestries. If you watch the movie, it's hilarious. And so I'd never seen a sticker about it. So I made a sticker of him pointing with tapestries. So it's something that I want to make sure that people have. If you're a fan of it, there's something for you in it. There's something different.
The whole if you know, kind of level.
Exactly. And it's like, and if you don't know, watch it, you'll know. And I'm hoping it brings people into it. So
very cool. So, so tell us about some of your experiences of working with different mediums, because I know that you mentioned stickers and posters, and I know that you've done T-shirts because I've actually seen those. And you do stationery and envelopes and tablet papers and jewelry. I've seen some of your all kinds of fun things that you do. So how do you adapt your designs to fit these different formats? Because I'm sure making a T-shirt is completely different than making a sticker, even if it's the same image. You've still got all kinds of different ins and outs to work with those materials. How do you work with that?
Well, with stickers, happily, because I can all colors. You can use a wide range of colors. You can be at 300 colors in one sticker. It doesn't matter because you're printing them and you're using that ink. When it comes to T-shirts, of course, there's a procedure. Silk screening is a art.
Yes.
It is art, and it is hard. It is not meant for everybody. I know what I did. I know what I did. And so I think now, but you have to be limited on your color. You have to be limited on your lines. And so if I have a beautiful, intricate flower, I cannot put that beautiful, intricate flower onto in multiple colors. It has to just like be
20 or 30, and they all got to line up just perfectly. Otherwise, the entire thing is ruined.
Yes, in that particular technique, there are other ways of that. I've never done it with a T-shirt before. There are other techniques to use. The silk screening in itself is it's difficult. Now, I would say if you were to do it to where like it was like for cloth style, like a stencil. Okay, and it would be easier and you can use it in different mediums and such. You don't have to use the photo emulsion and high pressure water and dark rooms. So oh my gosh, my whole house was a dark room for like the longest time. I didn't have light bulbs in many rooms because you have to keep that away from it. Right. And so it's time consuming. It's that medium is very difficult. It's rewarding, but unless you have revenue to back up, then it is not the way to go.
Yeah. It's a one-off. Like,
yes.
if you mess it up and you have to completely start over.
Yes. Yeah. It's very hard. Like a lot of people I know can mass do a lot of things. Like they can take a design, make a sticker, envelope, stationery, all that from one design.
Right.
And it is easy, but it's also monotonous. And it's, it's so you can make one design. That's what like Redbubble, Society 6, the ones that you upload the design, they put it on all the products. It looks good in theory, okay, until you actually get it because you don't know their quality.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So when you can do it yourself, you can actually regulate your own quality. So when it comes to different mediums, I did work with T-shirts. I had to back up because you have to know yourself. You have to know your limits.
Right.
And I did that plus stationery. Stationery is also one of those that you have to know your limits because of the quality control. You have to make sure that if you do one set, the next set has to be exactly identical. And if you do it on your own, you can't.
That's what sets you apart from the big box stores because like you want every product that you give out to be exactly the same thing where they're all like, these are 99 cents. We don't care here.
Yeah. They can just order them online. Right. I mean, when I first started out, you didn't order online. There was no online to order from. There was none. You had to do it all on your own. Right. And like honestly, the first thing that I ever did for a silk screening was Udo. It was a huge thing. When they don't make Udo anymore, what do? You have to evolve in that material and you just couldn't. I just couldn't evolve from it because after that, it is it's an art. Right. Yeah. People take it very seriously. And so if you don't take it as seriously as that, then you don't need to be wise. So I put it down. So I put it down.
Okay, there you go. So how do you stay up to date? Like you mentioned that the Udo is no longer a thing anymore.
Yep.
So how do you keep up to date with some of the current designs and trends and incorporate them and maintain them and do your own distinctive style? Like
Instagram is a great place to start.
Okay.
When you actually do it, we were talking earlier about AI generated art.
Right.
It's the wave of the future. It's wonderful. It's exciting. It shows you a lot of what we are capable of doing now. I normally I love going to like T-Villain or the T-shirt places that actually hire or have artists contribute their pieces. And they're wonderful. And you can actually pick up on where the trends are going based off like new movies that are coming out, new music that comes out, the fashion award shows and international music because K-pop is huge. So
yes, my son loves K-pop.
Yes, it's like K-pop is absolutely enormous. So it's like you have to, and so you look up and you're like, hey, what's popular in Korea today? And it really does help out with what direction I was like, maybe I should, I can design a panda, so you just kind of think to yourself, like, what are you happy designing with what's going on? And what's happening is Instagram, it's TikTok, everything that comes on. So if you see Disney's always going to be huge because Disney always evolves. Disney has learned to evolve.
Right.
So that's a great point to actually sit there and be like, how did, I wish Disney would move on. I wish they would move on. But, that's how, to be perfectly honest, like, I would say that social media is probably the only way that you can actually move on to learn trends because that's where everything's going.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm constantly on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter because being in real estate, social media is still a very important part of my job. So I have to do that all the time. So I see all these kind of crazy fun things and I see stuff that you post and other people's posts. So yeah, it's where it's at because that way we can be connected. So, all right. So how do you handle customer requests of like a custom design or a personal product? something that you kind of shy away from, or
I do.
or you dive into that?
I shy away from personalization, mainly because I want people to focus on what I have.
Okay.
Because when somebody comes up and they're like, "Oh, I really like this design, but can you do this?"
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think about it like somebody, when Ghostbusters came out again, everybody was saying, "Hey, do you have this design?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't, but that's a great suggestion. Thank you very much for suggesting it." Then I have people coming up going, "Well, can you design me these stickers for my business?" And I'm like, no, that's a copyright, because then that belongs to you, not me.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's more of like a legal problem after that point. When it comes to like, hey, can you give my daughter a birthday gift and put her name on these stickers? I don't alter my design.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of work to just put one name in there.
Right. Yeah. And then it becomes, it's less a part of your art and more about that particular person's birthday.
Yeah.
So, and you're, from what I gather, is more of your art, giving it to the world. And this is my art. This is what I do.
Yeah.
So I definitely.
Yeah. So, and I have had earlier, because when you're young, and you don't know any better, when people say, "Hey, can you do this?" and you automatically, you want to have the work, you want to have it.
Like me.
Yeah, you want to have the business.
Mm-hmm.
So you agree to almost anything. And I have had a lot of really bad experiences in that field because I was not prepared for it. If you're gonna, I personally do not do personalization. However, if you're going to personalize, make sure that you have the know-how to make sure that you have to sacrifice that design. You can be like, okay, this is now going to be your design. I have to put that aside, because some people can't let that go. And I have had many problems with. I designed like 30 designs, and she didn't like any of them. And you're all like, "What is it that you don't want?" And then she wanted them for free, and because she felt that I didn't do the job right. And you see, you have to be prepared for a lot of customers like that.
Right. Yeah.
So I decided a long time ago. I want to say about 10 years ago. Personalization is not going to be for my business.
No, absolutely.
At least not in this point.
Right. So. And it's a different level of design as well. Like when you go to a fancier restaurant, you're not like, "I want this off the menu, but I want you to substitute that and substitute this."
Yes.
They're like, "No, this is the menu that we have for the day.
Yes.
And this is what you have." So it's just a different level of professionalism, different level of artisanal.
Exactly. So. You don't go into an Italian restaurant and be all like, "I would like to have sushi."
Right. Exactly. No, sorry, ma'am. It's not on the menu. This is what we have.
Absolutely not.
So, all right. So how do you manage your time and prioritize your workload, especially when you're working on multiple projects simultaneously? Or do you really, do you just kind of delve into one thing, since you don't have to worry about trying to customize for a particular, client? You're just all like, "This is what I'm delving in," or are you kind of like, "I'm all over the place and I have to get myself back"? Like,
sometimes it happens. Sometimes that does happen. Right. I work. Sometimes I do put too much on my plate.
Okay.
And then once I put so much on my plate, I realize that I'm not getting any progress done. So I have to make sure that I'm like, okay, focus. What is the closest one being done? What is the closest one to being finished? And then you work on that, and then you kind of make it like a waterfall. Or like if you're working for Halloween. And then you're working for Christmas at the same time.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to finish first? And then if you're so close to the deadline for one, knowing that Halloween is only a week away and no one's going to see this, you should focus on Christmas.
No, I understand.
So
Christmas always keeps getting closer and closer as it is anyway.
Oh. And it's the biggest time of year for any business, including myself. And when you actually do finally figure out how to get your prioritized time. That's the biggest thing for me, is my time, is that I do have so much of it. Like, I'm not going to lie and say that, oh no, I have to work full time and then come back here. Right. My time is, can I focus on it? That's the thing. Because I can sit down at a computer and be all like, no, I'm not getting anything done right now. I have to get up and do something else. Right. So I cut the grass, or I wash dishes or something, because you have to prioritize the rest of the time.
Yeah.
For living, and for whatever that might be called. Right. So and I normally, if I can sit down, and if I can focus on something that I'm enjoying it. It's like, I'm not enjoying it, I can't work on it. Yeah. And so I make sure that I have at least like some kind of fun that like I have fun with my designs. That's why I enjoy doing them. Like I said, the tapestries thing, I was laughing almost the entire time I was designing it, because I was like, this is going to be great. So I was really happy to do it, and I finished it quickly that way. So I have to. Sometimes I look at a project and I'm just sitting there like, man. I was like, this isn't going to get done today. So
sometimes you have that idea and you're like, this will be a great idea. I want to do that idea.
No, I don't want to do that idea. God, but it's so good. But at the same time, I can do something different. No, and so I judge myself so many times.
Sure.
So in my workload, I should set up time, like to actually be like, this is a the end zone, but I never do. But normally holidays do help me, especially like Halloween, Christmas, 4th of July, Valentine's Day. These are really, New Year's is a really huge one.
Actual staples that you kind of pinpoint, this has to be done, deadline done.
I have to do it at least like a month or two before that, because people don't understand you have to get done really early in order to get it out there so that people can see it. And so sitting down and actually designing constantly is it does, like, I would say that most of the time, like, it is like 50% of the work. The other 50% is trying to figure out how to get it, because once you get the design done, then it's then I procrastinate, because I have to deal with technology. And let's just be honest about that. We were talking about that earlier.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
how we don't like technology.
It's constantly changing and constantly changing. And once you've learned something, it's completely different.
Yep.
Completely different. So, all right. So do you do a lot of collaborations? Do you network, or is that important when you're creative industry? And so do you seek opportunities to collaborate? Like, how do you like? Is that a successful part of your business?
For me, it's I'm very introverted.
Okay. Would never know that.
Yeah, I know. But when I was in college, I enjoyed being around other artists, but at the same time, I realized the importance of knowing that is their boundary.
Okay. Yeah.
I have actually never collaborated past college when it comes to my designs. I've never sat there and been like, hey, what do you think of this? Now, I do that with friends. I do that with some people. I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? Be like, I like the other color, or I like this, or something. And I take that to heart. 75% of the time, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see where the argument is. The other 25%, I'm like, no, I'm going to keep it that way because it's mine.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, it's yours.
So, and like I said, because I was at the beginning of the 2000s, networking was physical. Like, you had to go to art galleries in order to talk to people. You had to, and I am socially awkward. And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can get by. But when it comes to like expressing my business, it's very difficult for me. Just because I'm so personal to it. It's mine. I've spent a lot of time building up what I would consider to be a brand, something that I would consider to be a logo, a design style, which, like I said, I'm not even too sure, because I'm so close to it, I can't see it. But when it comes to other people, I did do Facebook for a long time. Facebook is hard though, because like I said, that's where the negative backlash can come into.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I pushed myself away from Facebook. I went to Twitter. Twitter's not too bad, but Twitter is flawed. So it's more flawed than anything else. Instagram really helps out.
Instant, as far as like, I mean, no, it's Instagram, but like Twitter is very instant. And it's just like boom, 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 120 characters, and now it's like 280 characters, whatever.
Yes.
But it's like they like you 5 seconds, and they like something else, and they like something else, and on and on and on.
Yes, and it is almost the same thing with Instagram. Instagram, you just scroll until you see something kind of fun, and then you're like, pause for a minute, and then you keep scrolling, because it's the attention span, and that works out. Clicks the brain a lot faster. So it's not the fact that I wouldn't want to collaborate. It's the fact that it's kind of difficult to collaborate when this is your aesthetic style. Somebody else has an aesthetic style, and they tell you that this is something you want to change. and you tell them that there's something you want to change, and there's
yeah.
and so it's kind of difficult to kind of meet with. I haven't met the perfect collaborator yet, just to point out.
No.
You know, not necessarily that I would never, but I guess the opportunity and the chance hasn't come, right?
Right.
So.
Okay. No. It makes sense, especially if like, because from what you're describing, your art is more like your family. You're creative.
Yes.
So for someone to come in and be all like, no, this is how you do this with your family.
Yeah.
Is completely different.
Yes.
And so
like, you should change this over here to that.
Right.
No.
Right.
I'm thank you for your advice.
Exactly. No, I get it. And so you mentioned earlier you have your Etsy shop, and that is, like I said, a global marketplace. So how do you handle international orders and shipping logistics and some of the challenges that you must face with that?
It's been made difficult. It's been made ever since the pandemic. It's been made difficult.
Oh, yeah,
but plus also the EU. Everyone, the EU has a VAT system and an ISO system, and they have to pay
a VAT system and
it's a tax. It's a tax that people in the EU have to pay for packages from different countries. So and it's automatically they paid it by the time. Now Etsy calculates everything for us.
That's good.
So when I just recently last week had an order from Great Britain and Ireland, and one was a VAT, one was an ISO, because there's two parts of Ireland, everyone, and one part belongs to the United Kingdom and the other part does not.
Right.
So
we're working on it.
So the United Kingdom has the VAT system, and you have to put it on the package or envelope because postage is atrocious for going overseas, no matter what you look at.
Yeah.
No matter how you look at it, a $5 package to post here is $15, and so you have to kind of make it worth it for them.
Right.
So if I have a customer who buys happily, because I just right now only offer stickers. They fit in an envelope.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm very happy with that. Okay. But even for that, their postage is triple what we have to pay here. So I have to try and make that worth it for them. So I offer freebie stickers. I offer incentives. You know, I personalize notes more, which I normally don't do in a lot of my packaging in the United States. So I've had Germany, I've had France, I've had several from the United Kingdom. It's wonderful. I mean, but it's not our issue; it's the postal issue.
Right.
So and so if they hadn't explained the VAT system or the ISO system, I would never have understood it. I wouldn't even know that it was something that changed. But if you had a business, you have to understand that it's important because they paid that tax. So make sure that you put that on there. They're like, this is a paid tax.
Right.
Even if it's on an envelope.
Yeah, right.
Because they change it up.
And you don't have it sent back because then there's a whole other rigmarole.
Yeah. And happily, I've never had an issue with international. Like once it actually internal in the United States, we do have a lot of problems with our postal system, but over there, it's been really good. I normally don't send packages anymore. I did used to send packages, but it's just not financially for them. I feel like it's not worth it for them to, if they buy something for $6 and I have to send it to them for $20. It's just not. No. And sometimes Hawaii and Alaska also have really intense postage. So, and I had to understand that I don't get a whole bunch of orders from Hawaii and from Alaska. So, so if you send a pin or if you send something that has girth to it, it's a package. You have to understand, don't try to cut corners with it. That's all I have to say, especially internationally, don't cut your corners. Just dish out the money. And I have done it. I've had to put out money just to make sure that that it gets there in one piece. And I would prefer them to be happy than for me to have lost out on $5. So, and that's important. The customer should come first. They're not always right, but their satisfaction should come. So if they're not happy, deal with them nicely. So, but international shipping logistics is just, it's being made difficult. So
no, absolutely. And so you mentioned that you do more stickers now. You used to do those boxes.
I did. I used to do a mystery box. For Harry Potter. Wow. And but see, it was called the Knox box, and there was nothing wrong with the actual box itself. What happened is that when I would send out the box, and it was just a small little thing, and people from YouTube wanted to get on there, and they would make videos about their opening boxes,
right.
Reveal boxes
absolutely.
and stuff, which is not a bad thing. And the problem is that they would tag not me, but Universal Studios.
Oh yeah.
And Universal Studios came to my store and took down half my store that wasn't even it, and you can't complain because it's Universal Studios.
Right.
And so I had to stop offering it.
Okay.
Not because it was I was actually promoting Harry Potter on it, because it was nothing about it that actually saw it, but inside, even though inside was a Harry Potter,
right?
Because so Universal Studios was like, this is our intellectual property, you have to stop, all that kind of stuff, and you have to agree with it. I was like, no problem.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You have millions of dollars for.
I know. I was like, because there is no fighting it.
Right?
Yeah, Etsy is not going to side with you against Universal Studios. Right? So I was like, okay. But when it came to the packages for that, I made that worth it, because the package was, I think I $12. But when you convert that to euros, it's a completely different system. Right. But I was able to do that pretty well, and package them really, really well. So in a way, it was financially worth it to do it, because like I said, Christmas is like the best time. I would sell like 50 of these boxes. Right. Yeah. And that was fine. And out of the 50, I would probably spend maybe like 4 or 5 international. Right. So. But I wish I could still do them. Right. But everybody's been asking to bring them back. But I was like, it's not worth closing my store over. It's their, it is their intellectual property. Please understand, it is their intellectual property. Right. Make sure that you don't. It's copyright. Right. So would you do something else, like a complete, like a squid kind of? I could. Thing? I was going to do a space box. Okay. Because I have, I did a 50th anniversary of the landing of the moon a couple of years ago. I was going to say, I know that the landing of the moon is important to you. It was. I love space. I love space. I'm a nerd. Right. I'm such a nerd. So we did a huge box, and they did really well. Okay. And we had, I was able to do on top of like shirts, I did a pillow. With like a space on it, and I did a mug, which I didn't know I could do. I mean, stretch your limits. I didn't know you could do it, so we hand did all of them. Awesome. And we had a lot of leftover because it happens. Right. And so we made little boxes, littler ones, and it was wonderful stuff inside of them. And we were planning on selling them as limited, like just a handful of them, just so that we can get them out. It just hasn't, because of the pandemic, because it's been a hard time trying to get everything back up. It's just procrastination on that part, but I do love doing the boxes. All right. My coworker also really likes doing the boxes. She loves doing the design and stuff of the boxes and stuff. I just have to make sure that whatever's in the box is intellectual property. Right. Exactly. I have to make sure that stays it, because I'm not going through that again. It's a rough decision to make, but. Yeah, when you get those cease and desist letters, those are scary. Yes, and if you have a couple, Etsy is not very strict, but it is stern. And if you have, I think, 3 strikes, they will close your store down for good. Okay. For good, and I had 2, because they wouldn't let me get to it in time. So I got to it, and I was like, and I started taking them down, and I got another one, and I got a letter. I don't exactly know what happened, but sometime last year, Etsy, it was the year before last, Etsy had the copyright strike. It was a third-party copyright strike on Harry Potter, and I was like, well, that wasn't Harry Potter what they took down. Okay. So I was trying to contact Universal, being like, this is not that. This is a completely separate thing. Not me, I promise. I was like, it had nothing to do with anything, and I couldn't get anybody to. I just got the same, design. I was like, I just got the same generic design. Etsy has I want to say a punishment system. Okay. In which you're kind of put into a corner for about 6 months. I didn't get paid. Oh. Because of this. Be careful, everyone. It's no joke. Yeah. They stopped my money from coming in every month. Okay. So it's supposed to be every 2 weeks you're supposed to get paid whatever you get, but this one they extended out to 2 or 3 months at a time. Wow. And it happened, and I went on and I asked the community, the Etsy community, is this a thing? Is this something? And there's a lot of big stores that got caught with it. Oh, wow. Okay. For some kind of copyright infringement, and and these are bigger, much bigger stores than me. They're getting like $13,000-$14,000 a month, and they're like,
Yeah.
We don't understand. So it does alleviate once if you have no strikes for I think 9 months.
Okay.
So mine got lifted, and I've been very careful
exactly.
not to have that done again, because luckily it's not my only form of income. If it's the only form of income, it is stressful, and I feel really bad for you.
Yeah.
But it's something that you have to think about, especially in terms of your product and merchandise. How are you going to display it? Because obviously Universal saw something in my stuff that looked just like what they wanted to do, and I was like, so I'm very careful.
I get you, absolutely.
Yes.
So what are some of your long-term goals for your Etsy shop and your career as a crafter? Do you envision your shop evolving, or what are you doing in the future?
I hope that the shop will do, because I'm doing well.
Okay.
I'm not doing great, but I'm doing well. I'm doing enough to where I actually have a presence, which is really good, because it's important to have a brand. It's important to have a good name. It's important to make sure that your reviews are good. Etsy is a hierarchy, because they do have a star system and I don't follow the star system because I don't believe that it's right.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it's do you offer free shipping? And I'm like, no, I do not offer free shipping. Do you offer tracking with every shipping? No, I don't, because I do letters.
Right.
Unless it's a really big order, I don't do shipping with a label.
Right.
And these are the things that you have to do in order for them to get you on the top of their list. It's basically like, do everything we tell you to do, we can get you up here. Right. Even if you did that, the platform is so big, and there are so many more people on there that have bigger sites, bigger. So I want to stay on it, because it's not that I'm complacent with it. It's the fact that, because honestly, if something happens, like I said, the Universal thing, if something happens, they'll kick you under the bus. They're like, nope, we're not going to help you. This is your problem. You know, this is not something we can help you with. Even though they could, they're not going to. I'm okay with staying on the platform for its community. I'm not too fond with everything, but I do like it. I do like the community. I wish that I could have because I used to have an outside store with an e-commerce and stuff, but you don't get the kind of traffic that Etsy can give you.
Even before the pandemic, things were starting to get more online, and now
gosh, it is kind of difficult in that respect. I'm okay with that.
As an introvert,
as an introvert, I am totally okay with it. Man, when the pandemic happened, I was like, finally, everyone can stay inside. This is gonna be the best. After having been inside for so long and sitting on a couch, I'm like, man, I need to get outside and do stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do want to stay there. I have other, like, my designs are on Redbubble as well. They're on Society 6 as well. Those are they just sit there though. I don't have to worry about them. I can just upload them, make sure that they're there, and those have also been caught third-party copyright, even though they're not third-party copyright, and there's nothing to do. So you just have to kind of make sure that your own style is secure and safe. So I would love to have another site. Like, I would like to have a site actually open again. If anything, just for information to bring to it. But to actually sell, Etsy's got, it's probably the easiest that I've actually seen to actually sell a product. Because at most other places, even though you have to pay like 20 cents a listing, 20 cents, for every sale, it's comparable to, having to spend $300 or $400 every year on a site through another Etsy kind of like store that you can actually get, and you can only put like 10 items up, and I'm just sitting there going, in Etsy you can put as many as you want.
It's like, I've seen 10 of your designs just in one section.
Yes,
so like,
and the more you have, the more you're out there. And if you can draw people in, if you can get people to like your store, it'll help out. It helps out with it. So yeah, I mean, community wise, Etsy's got to be the best one for actually sitting down and actually doing it. So.
So is there anything else that you would like to share about your work, your inspirations, your approach to running your Etsy shop? Like, any advice you want to give to someone?
Well, in my advice, if you're going to start an Etsy, because I have seen Etsy shops that they just upload digital designs, and that's great. I mean, it's a great way to earn money just sitting there. If you're going to actually have like a business, and you want to actually have that business, you want to be serious about it.
Right.
Make sure you get a brand, something that that you are okay with looking at every day. Because if you're not happy with it after because the squid, I designed the squid back in 2003.
Right.
Okay. And I kept him in a folder on my computer. Every computer I've had since then, I've had him. So and the original design is still original. AI is still in my computer. So be happy with what you have if it means something to you. If it's a memory that you can always remember, that's the way to go. Mm-hmm. If you're going to have any kind of art style, like if you actually want to create a style, you have to remember that there's a lot of people who create styles.
Right.
And in order to stand out, you'll have to come up with something, a style, an idea, a concept, anything. But make sure that it's not something that, I'm doing it because this person over here is doing it and it's popular and it earns money.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not always going to do that.
Right.
So.
And then you're always following the fad as opposed to setting a trend.
Yes. Yeah. You're always going to be behind somebody. Mm-hmm. And even if you're comfortable being behind somebody, and that's fine, you're going to have to change to somebody else soon.
Right.
And it's still the concept of trying to be yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you are yourself with a graphic design, you feel better. And if you feel better, your art reflects that. And your designs reflect that. And if you feel like you're in a slump, be in a stump. Be in that rut for a little bit, and then figure out how, what is it? Why are you here?
Right.
Right. I was over the course of my 25 years, I have been in multiple ruts, and I've always had to figure out how to get out of them. Sometimes friends help. Sometimes family helps. Sometimes movies help. Music helps. Anything helps. Yeah. Everything helps. So if you feel like there's something that's missing, figure out what it is, and then figure out how your designs can complement that. And I always did that.
Okay. So this is a local series that we have, and so I like to ask all of my interviewees, where is a great local place that you like to go for a good meal?
Oh, locally. Right? Oh, goodness. Oh, there are so many great places, because we recently found the ramen. Mm-hmm. Called Iso Iso that we love. We love eating at that one. That is wonderful. They have wonderful boba tea. It is delicious. But locally, because I'm not in the big city. No. I'm at the beach.
Right. Yeah.
I'm at the beach. So one of my favorite places is called a Beaches Diner.
Okay.
And it's right off of A1A, mm-hmm. and it's wonderful local. It's one of those 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. places. It only offers breakfast and lunch, but what they do really well. And it's very cozy, it's very clean, and it's beach themed, of course. We're at the beach. We're at Ponte Vedra Beach, everyone. It's beach themed. But I think that's as a lazy place to go, as a place to go for any kind of meal, like meatloaf, eggs. You can have spaghetti. I mean, whatever they offer.
Spaghetti breakfast, all right.
Spaghetti breakfast, man. I mean, I've never had it, but people seem to love it.
There you go. As my kids say, don't yuck on their yum.
Indeed. I was like, and don't knock on the locks.
Right, there you go.
Don't knock on the locks.
All right, awesome. So where can people find you? What are your social medias, your websites? You said you don't have a physical office anymore, but where can people find you?
My physical office is unfortunately my house, because it financially that works out. Yes. So. Oh, I do. Right. I changed everything up. The whole setup is different. Yes. I used to have an office, everyone. But I'm on website. I don't really have a physical website anymore. I have Etsy. And Etsy is Squid Penn Illustrations at Etsy or .etsy.com. Okay. And the actual website might be coming soon. I'm trying to get everything worked out with Wix, because that's where I was going to go with. I've been with Wix for a very long time. That was where my first e-commerce store was, with my first business, which was Pennington Trading House.
Right, that's where I know you from.
Yeah, it was. That's when he started asking me about the steampunk and Victorian.
Right, exactly.
Because it was a long time ago. That's how long we've known each other.
Indeed.
But we had with social media, I have an Instagram. I have 2 Instagrams, a personal one and one for the business, which is also Squid Penn Illustrations. actually like spelled out. I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure you're on that.
Okay.
But
I'll make sure I'll follow you if I haven't.
Yeah.
It's one of those, I know what you're doing, so I forget which one I follow you on.
I think
right.
it's the normal one, but
Okay.
but I don't have a Facebook anymore. Facebook has had too many problems with that one. But yeah, those are the only.
Okay. Sure.
That explains a lot. That I'm introverted. I only have one social media account ever.
No worries. And I'll make sure that I include those in the show notes so that everybody can find you and look for you. And depending on when this posts, and your website might be up by then, I'll make sure that I include that too. All right.
Thank you.
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.